Okay, welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you are all doing okay. It's me, Cal, and today I'm going to teach you the truth about defamation, the truth about what you can and cannot say online, and the steps to take for how to deal with those who have harmed the reputation of you or your business. I'm going to do all that in just under 7 minutes, so let's get straight to it. So just to be clear with everyone, defamation can be one of the most harmful and damaging experiences a person can possibly face. You've probably seen some of the high-profile cases on TV recently in recent years, and the reputational damage at stake. People can lose everything. If it ever happen to you or your business, you need to be ready. People don't get taught this information, but need to know what you can and cannot safely say online and the consequences for getting it wrong. I've seen a lot of people in my career trying to push a defamation case that simply isn't there. So let me explain very simply for you. All right, firstly, people need to know what defamation actually is. In simple terms, defamation happens when someone makes a publicly false statement that harms your reputation. Now, there are two types of defamation, libel and slander. You've probably heard of both. Libel refers to written or published defamatory statements, so think online posts, articles, social media, or even emails. Slander, on the other hand, is spoken defamation, like someone making a false claim about you during a podcast. Now, guys, this is important. For something to be legally defamatory, the statement must be presented as a fact and not just as an opinion. This is crucial and something I'm constantly explaining to potential clients. For example, if someone says, I don't like John's music, that's an opinion. But if they say John is a fraud and his music is plagiarized, and that isn't true, that is potentially defamatory, for which you can be sued. It is all about whether the claim is fact or opinion, and this is crucial for people to remember when they are commenting or speaking about someone else online. Be very careful when making statements of fact. One quick point to note as well, guys, is that the rules are slightly different with regards to public figures. Standard or burden of proof for defamation is much higher if made about a public figure, okay? I'll go into that shortly. So with the legalities out the way, you should now be able to identify if something you or someone else has said is defamatory by law. But I know what you're thinking. Look, people say harmful things all the time on social media, don't they? Why can't I? Or it's only a poorly worded tweet or comment. Well, let me make clear for you now once and for all. Social media can spread false information like wildfire. Think about it. One poorly worded tweet or misleading blog post can tarnish reputation in minutes. And given how many people rely on the internet for their daily news and their social interactions, the impact can be huge. So if one wanted to cause harm in the modern day, it would not be difficult to do that. And proving harm, which remember is a necessary element of defamation, can be proven fairly easily if comments are spread all over popular social media platforms. Now, some of you out there might be thinking that you have power in anonymity, right? People feel emboldened to say things that they wouldn't say in person because they can hide behind fake profiles. But when a defamatory comment gains traction, guys, and gains major attention, the damage can be exponential. And once it's out there, it is very hard, if not completely impossible, to erase it. So yes, online defamation can be easily committed, and the harm can be inevitable as a result. That said, the key point I encourage you all to remember is that not every negative comment or online review you make or receive is defamation. For it to be actionable, it has to be a false statement of fact that causes real harm. Okay, so by now you all know the legalities and all the consequences, and you can identify defamation a mile off. Great. Let me quickly now give you a brief illustration of the types of things that can and cannot be said or published online to help illustrate this point, guys. Quickly though, before we continue, guys, I will never ask you to hit my subscribe button, only that you give me the opportunity to earn it from you with the content that I've made for you. So at the end of this video, you feel like you've learned anything of value, please feel free to do so. So what you can versus what you cannot say then. Let's start with what you can say online. Number one, expressing opinions. I've dealt with this before. Expressing opinions is always allowed. These are people's fundamental free speech rights, okay? You can express opinions so long as they are clearly an opinion and you're not trying to state them as a fact. It is not defamation if it is subjective. Number two, fair comments on public figures. Really important, guys. As I said before, when it comes to public figures, you have much more leeway as long as your statements are based on facts that are made in public interest. You have any form of evidence about the statements you're making. Because even here, you need to be careful not to state false facts. Even for public figures, this is defamatory. And number three, criticisms and fair reviews. Also allowed. Criticizing a product or a service is fine if you're honest about your experience. For instance, if you want to leave a scathing review saying that a restaurant you went to has poor service, that's perfectly acceptable. as long as it's based on your actual experience, okay? What you can't say is the restaurant has a rat infestation when it doesn't, because that is just a false statement of fact, which can lead to a lot of trouble. Now that leads me to what you cannot say online. Number one, as I mentioned, false statements of fact about someone or their business. If you say something that isn't true and they can prove that it's harmed their reputation, that can be defamatory and that can be sued. For example, claiming that someone is a criminal when they are not is a false statement of fact, guys. But public figures are different, remember. So you probably can call them a criminal. Like you can call a politician a criminal, so long as it's based on some factual evidence. That's why people can go around calling their politicians criminals, because they genuinely believe it based on evidence they have gathered. And it is a public figure, not a private one. The second no is unverified claims. Pay attention to this. Making statements about another person's private life or professional conduct without proof can easily land you in defamatory territory. And thirdly, persistent rumours, guys. Persistent rumours or false allegations. So if you're constantly repeating a false rumour about someone, even if you believe it to be true, this can still harm their reputation, remember. As long as there is harm, it can be defamatory if proven false. Okay, so there are your 3 warnings of what you should not say online. Make a mental note of those 3 things and don't forget them. And following on from that, guys, pay attention, because I want to bust a very common myth about defamation and give you all an extremely important piece of advice. And that is that it doesn't matter who told you the information or who told you to say it. The speaker is who is liable. If you publish a false statement about someone, but try to caveat with, oh, I heard it from X or I heard it from Y, or he told me to say it, then that's not going to protect you when it comes to defamation. The burden is on you to be sure in what you're saying, regardless of where you heard it. Now, quickly, guys, in our final part of the video, don't go anywhere, because I'm going to teach you the golden checklist of when you can sue and how. So if ever you think you have grounds to sue for defamation, here is the 4-point checklist that you need to consider. Number 1, is the statement false? Number 2, is there harm to your reputation? The statement must have caused or be likely to cause excuse me, tangible and significant harm to your reputation or that of your business. Be sure that it's not actually just a minor insult that you are sensitive about, guys. Number 3, are you a public figure? If you're a public figure, you will also have to prove actual malice, i.e. the statement was made knowing it was false or with reckless disregard for the truth. If you're a private individual, though, you don't need to prove this element. And finally, number 4, publication. Has there been a publication? The statement must have actually been published or been communicated to a third party, so it's out there to the public. If it was only said to you privately and not shared with anyone else, you will not be able to do much about it. That's not defamatory. If these conditions are met, then you might have a case for defamation. But remember, defamation lawsuits can be complex. They can be time consuming. I've dealt with them, and they can be expensive. The burden of proof in defamation cases is really high, and I'd be remiss if I didn't warn people that many people try out and fail. That's not to put you off or to deter you if you think you have a case, but even if you win, you might not get all the compensation that you're seeking. So I have to warn you about that. Now, as promised, as for the process to take if you want to sue someone for defamation, I recommend the 4 following steps. Number 1, gather all your evidence, okay? Document everything. This is crucial. Save screenshots, emails, social media posts, because these things can be deleted. Anything that shows the defamatory statement. This evidence is crucial. Number 2, consult a lawyer, even though you might be tempted to handle it yourself. Defamation cases are really complex. Speak to a lawyer who specializes in media or defamation law. Number 3, send your cease and desist letter. Often the first step is have a lawyer send a cease and desist letter to the person or organization responsible for the defamatory comment. This letter demands that they remove that defamatory content and stop any further similar publications. And finally, number 4, file your lawsuit. If the cease and desist letter hasn't resolved the issue, your lawyer may suggest filing a lawsuit. This involves drafting a claim, serving it to the defendant, and potentially going to court. So have you ever encountered online defamation? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear from you. What did you do? Or what would you do if you found yourself in such a situation? Let's get a conversation going down in the comments. And look, if you have liked or learned anything of value from this video, please do subscribe. I do weekly videos on life's most common legal issues and teach people about their most basic legal rights, which no one else seems to be doing right now. Join me and start learning something useful.